Can you believe the timing of what just unfolded in Tehran? Because we are looking at a massive shift in history that feels almost scripted. A little over 24 hours ago, the world got the confirmation that Iran's supreme leader was killed following an explosion near his office. Both President Trump and Iranian officials confirmed it. But here is the part that gives you chills. This happened right before Purim. That is the holiday where Jews have been celebrating survival against a Persian plot to destroy them for 2,300 years. It is like history repeating itself in the most intense way possible. Jerome Spielman, who used to speak for the Israel Defense Forces, shared this incredible moment where he was literally sitting in a bomb shelter with his family with bombs falling outside, and he had to tell his kids that the story of their ancestors was happening all over again in real time. It is a powerful reminder that sometimes justice arrives in ways we do not expect. Now you might be asking what happens next, because this leaves a massive power vacuum. There was apparently a succession plan involving 3 people, including the head of the court and a nephew, but here is the catch. One of those chosen successors was actually eliminated alongside the leader. This changes everything about how we look at the region. For decades, these leaders could sit comfortably in downtown Tehran living in mansions and maybe driving Lamborghinis while they move chess pieces like Hamas and Hezbollah to do their dirty work without ever being in danger themselves. That era is officially over. The paradigm has shifted completely. Any new leader thinking about attacking the US or Israel or rebuilding a nuclear program now knows they cannot hide behind proxies anymore. They are personally on the line, and that level of direct accountability is something we have not seen in a very long time. So the massive question hanging in the air right now is retaliation, because everyone is asking what comes next after such a huge shift. You might see the footage of damage in Tel Aviv and feel the tension, but there is a key difference in how these sides operate. Israel has been pouring national resources and tax dollars into defense systems to keep people safe, while the regime on the other side spent everything on nuclear programs and offensive capabilities. But let us be honest, nothing is ever 100% foolproof. We tragically lost 2 people in the last 24 hours, including a pregnant woman, and that hits you right in the gut. It forces you to realize that the old mentality of live and let live just does not work in this neighborhood anymore. You cannot stick your head in the sand, because that is how you end up with another October 7th. That is exactly why there is this overwhelming sense of national pride right now, seeing Israeli pilots fly all the way to Iran, coordinating perfectly with the United States to take out the head of the snake. And do not think for a second this just happened overnight. This was not luck, it was precision. We are talking about weeks and actually months of planning going all the way back to June. The CIEY and Israeli intelligence were watching every single move, tracking routines, and waiting for that one split second where the target was exposed alongside his army commanders. It is literally like threading a needle with the smallest piece of thread you can imagine. But here is the reality check. Eliminating the leader is just the start. The ultimate goal is stripping away the nuclear and ballistic missile program so the Iranian people can actually take their country back. The regime is watching right now to see if the West will just pack up and leave, or if we are actually going to see this through to the end. You might expect total chaos when a leader who has shaped a nation's destiny for 4 decades is suddenly gone, but Iran is proving everyone wrong with something they call a managed continuity model. It turns out they wargamed this exact scenario. While the world watches for a power vacuum, a 3-person council has instantly stepped in to take control. We are talking about President Masoud Pezeshkian, the head of the judiciary, and Ayatollah Alireza Arafai, who have assumed all supreme duties to ensure the system does not collapse. This is not just a political shuffle, it is a desperate bid to hold together a country that just lost its center of gravity. Remember, Ayatollah Khamenei was the architect of everything from the nuclear program to the IARGC for nearly 40 years. Now the state has declared 40 days of national mourning and a 7-day public holiday, with President Pezeshkian calling the killing a great crime and declaring that revenge is their legal right. But while the political machine turns in Tehran, the reality on the ground in Israel is terrifying. Israel claims to have eliminated 40 Iranian commanders along with Khamenei's family members, but the blowback is hitting civilians hard. We just got a report from Steret where sirens are going off almost non-stop. In Beit Shemesh, near Jerusalem, a single rocket hit a house and murdered 9 people. A witness on the ground named Gita described the horror, saying this feels different from October 7th because the rockets are stronger and they are hitting families, not armies. She said they are sitting in shelters on a holiday, paralyzed by the fear that the next siren could be the last. It is a stark reminder that while leaders talk about managed transition and strategic goals, it is the people in the bunkers paying the real price. You are not going to believe the level of deception that went into this, because it turns out the diplomatic talks in Geneva were never about peace. They were a trap. We are learning now that the trip by the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner and Ambassador Britkoff to Switzerland was a complete decoy. They flew there to make the Iranian leadership believe the US was still interested in a deal, but the reality is brutal. While those handshakes were happening, the president had already decided to move ahead with military strike. The timing was calculated perfectly. As soon as the Iranian diplomats flew back to brief Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, he convened a meeting, and that is exactly when the US and Israel struck. They took out Khamenei and 40 of the top commanders in the IARGC structure, effectively decapitating the leadership in one go. But the action is not staying on the ground. We have major breaking news from the US Central Command regarding Operation Epic Fury. A US strike has just sunk an Iranian corvette right at the Chabahar pier. This is a massive statement because the ship is now sitting at the bottom of the Gulf of Oman. You have to understand the geography here. Iran had been threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, effectively holding the world's energy supply hostage, and they had already struck an Omani ship and a refueling tanker called Skylight. By sinking this corvette at Chabahar, the US is sending a clear message. Chabahar was Iran's only major port outside the Persian Gulf with direct access to the Arabian Sea. By hitting it, the Americans are telling Iran that if they try to shut down the global energy trade, their own ability to export oil or run a navy is finished. And let us be real about the military balance here. Experts like General Pandey and Sandeep Ananthan are pointing out that Iran has a coastal navy made up mostly of speedboats and fast attack craft. They do not have a blue water navy that can stand up to the United States. They are vulnerable, and with the leadership gone and their strategic ports under fire, the power dynamic in the region has shifted overnight. You might think this conflict stays inside the borders of Iran, but look at what is happening next door in Pakistan, because the Islamic solidarity card is being played hard. In Karachi, the US consulate has already been attacked by a furious crowd, and there has been significant violence in Lahore too. It really makes you wonder if Iran now realizes it only has two options left, which is either fight to the bitter end or try to go back to the negotiating table. But here is the catch. Why would they trust a table now when strikes happen right in the middle of talk? It seems likely that Israel convinced the Americans that the agreement was going nowhere, similar to how they opposed the JCPOA back in the day. They probably argued that Iran would keep its military capabilities regardless, so the final card had to be military decimation. And that decision has set the streets on fire. We are watching Iran relive the ghosts of 1979. The death of the supreme leader, who ruled for over 3 decades, has pushed the nation to the brink. In Tehran at Engilab Square, you have black-clad mourners gathering, while thousands are thronging the shrine of Hazrat But this grief is turning into pure rage. A 40-day mourning period has started, but the chants of death to America and death to Israel are already echoing from Isfahan to Qom, where people are watching the skies and vowing revenge. And it is spilling over borders. In Karachi, the situation got so bad that a mob surrounded the US consulate, hurling stones and blocking roads until police fired tear gas, and reports say there are multiple casualties. The US military actually had to step in to quell the protest. From the shrines in Karbala to the streets of Baghdad and Nasiriyah, crowds are calling this martyrdom. Even closer to home, we are seeing protests erupting against the US and Israel across Jammu and Kashmir, Delhi and Bengaluru.